order the Senate Transportation, Finance, and Policy Committee for Tuesday, February 2nd, 2021, and we will be operating our committee today by Zoom. Just a couple of preliminary comments for members. The Senate is trying to put together a system whereby we can operate with hybrid hearings. Simply means that some folks would be in the committee room, some folks would be zoomed in. Possibly we'd have testifiers in the committee room, some zoomed in. I've looked at it so far, and I'm just not comfortable that we are at a point where we would be better off going to hybrid. So for the time being, we are going to stay with the Zoom format. Once I think they get the kinks maybe worked out of the hybrid system, and be better to do that. My major concerns with the current hybrid makeup is that I'm concerned about whether or not the public would have complete access to the hearings. And I'm also concerned about the ability of members to offer amendments. Neither seems to be resolved in the hybrid situation yet. So we're going to stick with the Zoom meetings. Members, I would indicate to you that, remind you of our first deadline, and the committee hearing dates are beginning to fill up. If there are bills that you want us to take a real hard look at, please bring them to my attention as soon as you can, because as I said, things are going a little slower than normal because we are operating on a Zoom format. So I just wanted to make mention of that. And I also would tell you that if we can't get to all of the bills, and here I'm thinking primarily of the budget bills for the state agencies, it is likely we would go into the evening or have a Friday transportation hearings. So just a heads up as to what we might be looking at in the future. Members, any questions on any of the things that I've just mentioned? Okay, with that, then we will proceed with our agenda today. We've got 2 bills on, and then we have the Met Council coming in and giving us an overview. In particular, I wanted the Met Council to come in. It's nice for us to revisit, but we do have 3 new members on the committee, and I want them to be
Scott, you're muted.
I'm muted. Oh, yeah, Scott Newman. Yeah, Scott Newman.
there.
Chair Newman.
It muted itself. I'll bet the host muted me. Anyhow, we're going to try and be done with Senator Dames' bill by 3:20. Then I want to be done with Senator Jasinski's bill by 3:45. Just so you know, Senator Dames' bill will be sent on to the Finance Committee, whereas Senator Jasinski's bill is going to be laid over. There's some more work that has to be done on that. But I do want to be done by 3:45 in order to give the Met Council an opportunity to give us its presentation. With that, Senator Dames, we are ready to go forward with your bill, which is Senate File 352. Senator Dames, I understand you have an author's technical amendment. Is that correct?
That is correct. And if somebody could move that, I would appreciate it. That'll put the bill in the order that I would like it.
Senator Jasinski?
I would move the, did you say it was the A2 amendment? I'm sorry, A2?
And members, that is an author's amendment. All those in favor?
Mr. Chair, sorry, Mr. Chair.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's an A1. The A1, thank you. I just caught it. I would move the A1 amendment for Senator Dames.
Ms. Stengel, I want you to stay awake. Thank you. All those in favor of Senator Jasinski's amendment or a motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion passes. The amendment is adopted. Senator Dames, would you like me to have Ms. Stengel walk through the amendment we just adopted?
That would be fine.
Ms. Stengel, would you do that, please?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair and members. The A1 amendment is largely technical. Last year, as part of the cleanup in some other special plates bills, several changes were made to the formatting, and this sort of makes it match up with the provisions that are already in law. So the bill is introduced referring to a $10 fee, and the changes that we made last year make all of the special plates reference a single statute, which sets that plate. That way the fee isn't set all over statutes. So that's the first change. And the other change that you see on line 1.6 requires the fees under chapter 168 to be paid. That is in the current bill. It's just deleted and given its own clause, again, just to be consistent with other provisions.
Okay, Senator Dames, then you want to present your bill, Senate File 352 as amended, and I think you've got, you've got 3 testifiers. Go ahead, Senator Dames.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. Senate File 352 is a bill relating to motor vehicles. And this creates a specialized license plate that dedicates funds equally to the Minnesota FFA Foundation and the Minnesota 4-H. The design of the plate will have an agricultural theme, and Senate File 352 is supported by many of the agricultural groups, including Minnesota Association of Agricultural Educators, Minnesota Farm Bureau, Minnesota Farmers Union, and numerous commodity and ag business groups. With that said, I do have 3 testifiers. And first we have Val Arsvold. Val is the Executive Director of the Minnesota FFA Foundation. Beth Olander, President of Minnesota FFA, and Ali Diebel, State Ambassador for Minnesota 4-H. So with that said, Mr. Chair, if you would recognize Val Arsvold as a testifier, I would appreciate it.
Thank you, Senator Dames. Mr. Arsvold.
Thank you so much, Chairman Newman and committee members, for this opportunity to share a bit. On behalf of current and future FFA and 4-H members in Minnesota, I ask for your support of Senate Bill 352 to initiate a specialized agricultural license plate that would not only celebrate the importance of agriculture in our state, but allow Minnesota citizens to take an active role in providing support of agricultural programs as delivered by FFA and 4-H. Minnesota FFA has a rich tradition and a bright future in preparing young people to be leaders for agriculture and in their local communities. There are over 35,000 students enrolled in agriculture, food, and natural resource classes in grades 7 through 12, of which nearly 11,000 have chosen to participate in FFA. FFA involvement is focused on helping students develop their leadership skills, career success, and personal growth. These students are developing skills that will prepare them for careers in the career pathways of agricultural business systems, animal systems, biotechnology, food products and processing, natural resource and environmental systems, plant systems, and power, structure, and technical systems. At the same time that Minnesota FFA is doing great things, Minnesota 4-H is doing their part in developing leaders for our communities. With programs in every county in Minnesota, over 17,000 members are enrolled in agriculturally related projects, which include, but are certainly not limited to, the livestock areas, veterinary science, agricultural ambassadors, and the Science of Agriculture program. So you might be wondering, why are we pursuing a specialized agricultural license plate? With the current economic challenge within the agricultural sector, we are working to secure funds for the important work of the FFA and 4-H. A specialized license plate will provide Minnesotans a voluntary way to show their support. In researching similar efforts, there are more than 15 other states that have a specialized agricultural plate with revenue supporting FFA and 4-H. Minnesota auto owners are very receptive to paying additional fees to support a cause that they value. In the calendar year 2019, there were over 665,000 special plates in circulation. So you're wondering maybe why and how this will help constituents in your district. Well, truly it serves all districts, but students enrolled in career and technical education classes, which agricultural education is part of, graduate at a rate of 91%, which is nearly 10% higher than the statewide average. Youth involved in 4-H are more than 4 times as likely to contribute to their communities as the other youth, and about 2 times as likely to be civically active. The bill has the support and endorsement of numerous organizations and businesses, as was provided on the handout. But Compeer Financial has also said that they are prepared to outfit their fleet of more than 150 vehicles to show their support of the FFA and 4-H. We have heard from numerous others that they desire to purchase the plate when it becomes available. As Senator Dames shared, the design of the plate will be one that captures the beauty of agriculture, and it is our hope to tap the talent of FFA and 4-H members for them to submit designs that would inspire the final plate. As we consider how these funds would be used, our focus is to ensure that students, regardless of their economic status, have access to current and developing programs. An example of what FFA might use these funds for includes conferences like Intense, a career exploration program where students visit Minnesota colleges and universities while at the same time visit agricultural companies. This is an intentional effort to help students not only see the opportunities available to them in agriculturally related fields, but better understand the educational partners that will help prepare them for their future careers. I believe all Minnesotans want students to be successful in the classroom and active contributors to their communities. Minnesota FFA and 4-H have a proven record of doing just that. But knowing that students are really the best testament to the impact of these programs, I would now invite you to hear from Ben Olander, Minnesota FFA State President from the Staples-Motley FFA chapter, and Allie Dubal, a 4-H State Ambassador and 4-H Agricultural Ambassador from Green Isle in Sibley County, to share a bit about their experiences. And upon completion of their comments, we certainly welcome any comments from you or questions.
Thank you, Ms. Arvold. Next, I'll call on Mr. Olander. If you would state your full name, please, and whom you are with, and then present your testimony. Mr. Olander.
Thank you, Chairman Newman, members of the committee. My name is Benjamin, and I'm currently serving as the Minnesota FFA State President. As an FFA member for the last 4.5 years, I could speak at length about the benefits and traditions of FFA, but out of respect to your valuable time, I wanted to boil my message down to my story of growth and development within FFA that has impacted my life dramatically. I come from a very traditional side of agriculture in that I was raised on a crop farm in central Minnesota. From a young age, driving the tractor with my dad, I knew that agriculture was something that held a special place in my heart, but I didn't necessarily know how to put all the pieces in the puzzle together. As I continued to stay curious about agriculture through those years and got towards the age of middle school, I found one of the pieces of that puzzle to be supervised agricultural experiences, otherwise known as SAEs, where I could take hands-on experiences and apply them to my future career. One of the most foundational of these SAEs was my beef steer experience. One day when I was driving home from church with my family, I asked my dad a question referring to what it'd be like to raise my own cattle. My dad, and being a former FFA advisor, gave me a happy look and simply implied, "Let's get started." Little did I know that that 10-minute car ride would have such an impact on where I would steer my life. This experience had an impact on my love for the business world. While I would manage my own herd of cattle, I found that management, business, and financial practices were of my liking, and truly feel that this is one of the major foundations of why I am studying agricultural business here at the University of Minnesota Crookston. Along with my beef experience throughout high school, I found growth in so many other supervised agricultural experiences. I found a love of growing crops and vegetables on my family's crop farm and through a roadside produce stand I operated. These skills transferred to pursuing a degree in agronomy as well. I found through my fabrication experience, I can acquire a skill set that I could pursue as a hobby in my future. Supervised agricultural experiences to me were such a foundational piece of my love for agriculture. As I worked in those experiences, I could build on my skills, discover new talents, and find a career that I thoroughly enjoyed. What I found astonishing about FFA was, one, there are so many students building themselves just like I did with these experiences. And second, SAE is only one part of the three-component model of agricultural education. As I entered the agricultural education room in Staples Motley High School my freshman year, I could feel that some of the final pieces of that puzzle were coming together. I found that Mr. Lindgren, my FFA advisor, wanted me to grow as a person. So he would give me the opportunity to attend conferences, camps, and meetings on the local, regional, and state levels to help students like me develop leadership skills, build on their character, and so much more. When I began my FFA journey in 9th grade, I can honestly say that I was a shy, timid person with a passion in mind, but I had no idea how to utilize it. I found that through the National FFA organization, which has given me so much, it provided a foundation in my life that I will always be grateful for. Thank you for your consideration of this specialty license plate. In a year of struggle, we have seen our students and teachers innovate and figure out how to continue to develop student leadership development and career preparation that I was able to have as a member on so many levels.
Thank you, Mr. Olander. Next, I'll call on Ms. Dyball, if you would state your full name, please, and with whom you are associated.
Hi, my name is Allison D-Ball, and I am with Minnesota 4-H. Mr. Chairman, committee members, my name is Allie D-Ball. I am from Green Isle, Minnesota. I am a member of Minnesota 4-H program in Sibley County. I'm last year of high school attending South Central College in Mankato as a PSEO student. I'm here to speak today in favor of the Specialized Agriculture License Plate Bill. One of the organizations that would benefit from this bill is Minnesota 4-H. The 4-H program has positively impacted my life in two specific and important ways. First, it has expanded my knowledge and commitment to animal agriculture. In 4-H, I discovered a community of youth and caring adults who were just as interested in dairy as I am. They encouraged me to take my interest in the dairy industry and deepen it through study, networking, and advocacy opportunities. I've spent 12 years in the 4-H Dairy Project, and over time, I have earned this responsibility of teaching others what I have learned and discovering a career path along the way. The second way that 4-H has positively impacted me is by showing me that it takes an effective leader. I started 4-H when I was in kindergarten. At that time, I did not like talking to people and never went places without my parents. Because of mentoring from older youth, I became more confident. Those fellow 4-Hers showed me that I could be a leader, even as a little kid. When I was just 10 years old, those older 4-Hers encouraged me to apply for club officer position. It was my first election. I was nervous, but I took the chance and I won. I was elected to serve as my club's historian, keeping track of collaborative decisions, learning experiences, and community service. I even had a few articles published in our local newspaper. This was just the beginning of my career as a leader in 4-H. I served in all the club officer roles that were available: secretary, vice president, and president too. Now I am growing in my teaching and advocacy skills as a Minnesota 4-H state ambassador and egg ambassador. Each 4-H leadership role has helped me discover just a little bit more about the difficulties and rewards of effective leadership. Persistence, cooperation, respect, and integrity. These are just a few of the characteristics that leaders need to show every single day. 4-H has shown me that I can be that kind of a leader. Without 4-H, I would have never gained the skills I have and that I know are critical for my life. I plan on taking my passion for dairy and growing leadership skills into an agriculture career. After high school graduation, I'll be pursuing a double major in dairy production and manufacturing. I also intend to include a minor in food safety. Every year, 4-H provides 65,000 Minnesota youth with opportunities to learn and lead in agriculture, STEM, performing arts, and many other project areas too. Your support for this license plate bill is support for youth development in Minnesota. Thank you for this chance to speak with you today.
Thank you, Ms. Nyball. Members, do you have any questions on Senator Dames' bill? I do not see anyone waving at me. Senator Dames, any thoughts before we move your bill?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. You can see there's a lot of enthusiasm both in the FFA and the 4-H side of this, and I think it's a very good bill. They've worked very hard to get it to this point, and I think it'll be a very successful specialized license plate that'll have a lot of folks wanting to purchase it. With that said, I would appreciate the support so we can move the bill forward. And again, thank you, members and Mr. Chair for the bill.
Members, if at this time you would unmute yourself, and we will take a vote. Senator Jasinski, would you care to move Senate File 352 as amended? It goes to Finance.
So moved.
All those in favor of Senator Coleman?
Oh, apologies, that was the toddler interrupting.
Oh, okay. No problem. All those in favor of Senator Jasinski's motion to move Senate File 352 as amended to the Finance Committee, please indicate by saying aye and give me a thumbs up.
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay, and a thumbs down. The motion passes. And Senator Dames, you on your way to the Finance Committee. For those who have come in to testify today, thank you very much for coming in. We do appreciate your involvement.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. We appreciate the support of the bill.
Next up is Senator Jasinski's bill, Senate File 255. I would indicate that this bill is going to be held over, but Senator Jasinski does want to discuss it and the amendment. So Senator Jasinski, why don't you go ahead and talk about your bill, after which we're just going to lay it over.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I'm not sure if we have to lay it over or table it, whichever your preference is and how you see it, but one of the two. Anyways, thank you, Mr. Chair. Senate File 255 is the online driver education bill. First of all, I'd like to thank my co-authors. This is a bipartisan bill, so I'd like to thank Senator Eakin, Senator Draheim, Senator Kent, and Senator Coleman for co-authoring this bill. Again, this is an online option only. This is not a requirement. This just provides with another option. I don't know if any of you other parents had a struggle to get your kids to online or at classroom when they're getting their driver's license, but I know it can be difficult not only for scheduling and things like that. So this bill would offer an online option. And again, with what we've been through in the last 10 months, I think this type of education has come a long ways. As I've mentioned, maybe in a video or two, I'm actually taking my online private pilot's license work as well online. So it's another thing. Right now it's offered for ages 18 and above or as an adult, but is not offered for ages 15, 16, and 17. So what this would do, it would offer it to 15, 16, 17, and on to an online option as well. A couple points I want to make, and then I'm going to turn over some testifiers. But by allowing online driver's education as an option for Minnesota teens, will have access to highly quality driver education that is needed to pass the state licensing exam and, more importantly, become safe drivers. This is the online portion for the classroom experience only. It is not the behind the wheel. You will still have to take behind the wheel as you always will. You would have to pass that test as well as the state licensing test for the driver's license as well. So this just provides an online background for that. Traditional classroom driver's education will remain the option. We would simply add more options and more tools to the toolbox for teens for driver education. Additionally, teens who choose to take the bookwork part of the driver education online, again, would still have to take the normal behind the wheel and things like that. So that's an overview of the bill. We have been working with DPS. There is an A2 amendment out there that's been posted that gets the bill almost the way I want it. There's a few corrections we're still making with DPS to make sure that we have it the way we want so that we can get that moving. So the A2 amendment is out there so you can review it and it's there for discussion. But again, it is not in the full version, but in an effort of time, we want to get this in front of you so you can think about it. It will come back. We'll get the little things that we're still working on straightened out, and then we'll bring a bill and hopefully get this passed. So with that, that's the end of my testimony, Mr. Chair, and I'd like to turn it over to my first testifier, Mr. William Van Tassel. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Jasinski. And we do have 3 testifiers, Mr. Van Tassel, Mr. Christensen, and Mr. Palmer. And I do want to save some time between now and 3:45 to allow members to ask any questions that they may have. So I would ask the testifiers be respectful of their time or our time. At this time, I would recognize Mr. Van Tassel.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is
Please identify yourself for the record with whom you are associated and proceed.
Hi, I'm Bill Van Tassel with the AAA National Office, and I have the privilege of supporting the AAA clubs throughout the nation in both programmatic and policy-related matters. AAA is strongly committed to supporting the field of traffic safety, and this is evidenced in part by AAA's decision to commit a significant portion of my time to efforts such as chairing the NHTSA-funded National Stakeholder Panel that created the National Driver Education Standards, and presenting at state and national conferences, such as the Transportation Research Board, and even Minnesota's own Driver and Traffic Education Association. AAA's leadership in traffic safety extends back to 1935, when it created the first classroom materials for driving instructors. We're also very fortunate to have the AAA Foundation for Traffic Safety, our research arm, whose research is directly integrated into AAA's driving safety programs, including AAA's defensive driving and senior driver refresher programs, as well as the full-length How to Drive novice driver education curriculum. No doubt it's not a surprise to anyone in the meeting today that online learning has grown substantially over the past 20 years. There seems to be a rather wide consensus now among students of all ages and both school and state administrators that web-based courses are a legitimate and efficient and effective way to learn. And the research into online learning over the past 20 years supports this view as well. In its large-scale study or review of research into online learning, even the U.S. Department of Education found that online learning on average can match or exceed the performance of students receiving face-to-face instruction. And the legitimacy of web-based learning holds true for Minnesota as well. Many students can now register, enroll in a virtual high school, and even the Minnesota Highway Safety and Research Center at St. Cloud State University has endorsed web-based delivery and itself offers online driving safety courses. We now know through research that what makes the biggest difference in learning outcomes is not whether a course is delivered face-to-face or online. Rather, the differences are more due to the learning methods that are employed within the course itself, regardless of what delivery channel is used. So these include learning methods such as realistic practice, spaced repetitions, real-world contexts, and direct feedback to students. The AAA launched its driver education online program in 2004 after over 2 years of development and with support from national experts in online course development. We've gradually earned approval in 10 states so far, and over 100,000 students have completed the program with a failure rate of less than 1%. That is less than 1% needed to retake the course due to failing the exam 3 times, which is the standard in most states. And developing How to Drive online, we had 2 main goals or interests. First, we needed to feature the most current content. We did that by meeting the National Driver Education Standards for Curriculum Content, or Standard 2.1.1. And second, and perhaps more importantly, we needed to create a dynamic, engaging, student-focused learning experience loaded with interactivity. At every step possible, we wanted the student to be doing something, to be interacting with the course rather than just sitting there clicking through and reading text on the screen. So we're pleased that How to Drive Online is the first and only driver education program that meets the national standards for curriculum content. It covers all the traditional topics in driver education, such as right-of-way, space management, distracted and alcohol-impaired driving. But it also covers the very latest traffic safety topics, including drugged driving, safe traffic stops, and it features an entire module on vehicle safety technologies. I believe we also achieved our aims for engaging the student experience by building in opportunities for students to practice in real-world scenarios, repeating key content spaced throughout the entire course, and providing immediate and direct feedback to students, not just at the end of each section, but actually within each module. Now, describing an online program is actually hard.
Mr. Van Tassel, if you could wrap up, please.
I will. Okay. So there are no doubt lots of questions. It's a rather controversial issue and different viewpoints. And there are lots of answers that may be needed here in terms of if Minnesota moves forward in some form with online driver education, it would be an added option, as it was mentioned before. The behind the wheel course time would stay the same. This issue is a big issue, and AAA encourages the state to have comprehensive and serious discussions about this opportunity. And as Minnesota explores how it might utilize online delivery in providing driver ed, AAA stands ready to help the state however it can. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Van Tassel, for your testimony. Next, we have up Mr. Joe Christensen. If you would identify yourself, Mr. Christensen, indicate if you are with any particular organization, and proceed with your testimony. Mr. Christensen.
I'm Joe Christensen. I'm a semi-retired driver education teacher, but I'd rather yield, Mr. Chair, to John Palmer.
Well, thank you, Mr. Christensen. Mr. Palmer, if you would state your full name, please, with whom you are associated, and proceed with your testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members. My name is John William Palmer. I live in St. Cloud, Minnesota. I've been the registered lobbyist for the Minnesota Driver and Traffic Safety Education Association for well over 40 years. I am a content area specialist. I retired from St. Cloud State University after 39 years, most of which I was director of the Minnesota Highway Safety Center. I have been chair of the Operator Regulation and Education Committee of the TRB, which is the Transportation Research Board. If you were to look at my academic record, you're going to find I was the coordinating author for responsible driving, and AAA recruited me to be engaged in that. I have extensive experience in curriculum development across the spectrum. I do have to correct my colleague, Dr. Van Tassel. St. Cloud State University, through the Highway Safety Center, does not conduct online instruction. He may be confused. There is a teacher preparation program that is operated through continuing studies that is a hybrid that utilizes interactive television in addition to materials presented online. I've also had the occasion to participate in the development of the national standards, and the executive director of our parent organization, ATSIA, sent me today, and I forwarded to you, your committee member, the resolution that shows that ATSIA totally supports the standards. I would also mention that much of those standards have not been referenced by Mr. Van Tassel. That's the reason I have sent to you the entire section of the standards that deal with online instruction. I highlighted key portions of those standards to call attention and make it easy for you to find those references. There are 10 different times in those standards that it talks about the importance and the role for the instructor. As I understand the bill and the approach, it is a Skinnerian approach. So I will be sending you some information about the origin of program learning, which B.F. Skinner tested in the 20s and 30s and advocated in the 50s, and has then become the foundation for the delivery of programming. Driver education has 3 content areas: cognitive, affective, and psychomotor. The predominant activity for psychomotor occurs behind the wheel, but the affective and the cognitive occur in a classroom setting. All of the discussions that have occurred with program learning talk about it being a supplement to classroom. If you wish to deal with operant conditioning, yes, it is true, you can teach pigeons to find the right spot to get their reward in the form of a pill. If you want to teach people and train them to do a particular thing, you can in fact do that in a Skinnerian approach. But in all of my career, which has spanned over 50 years, the traffic safety community has tried in classroom to develop not only cognitive objectives, methodologies to reach them, but has developed a great deal of resource that's tied to affective. Affective domain is the interaction of people, one to the other. When you look at the standards, you're going to find that the national standards don't talk about a free-standing online teaching. There is a problem when you use the word online, it's very imprecise. Supplemental instruction, Mr. Christensen knows I met him when we were developing the computer-aided driver education curriculum some 40 years ago. It was always intended to be a supplement to what went on in classroom. My association supports the national standards. My association is opposed to anything that would leave the student with no interaction with licensed personnel. And we could not be stronger in opposition to the bill in its proposed amendment form. There are numerous problems that the bill does not address that are addressed in the national standard. So I do hope, if there's any effort to move in this direction, that there will be a study and consideration of all of the provisions in the national standards. With that, Mr. Chairman and members, I would be happy to respond to any questions you might have. I will be sending something to you that summarizes the background of the operant learning methodology developed by B.F. Skinner.
Thank you, Mr. Palmer, and feel free to forward any information to the committee that you wish. Members, we've got about 6 minutes for questions. The first member I have up is Senator Osmic.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Testifier Christensen has his hand up. I was worried maybe you want to finish the testifier before you come to me.
No, we are done with testifiers at this point, okay. Senator Osmic. We're going to member questions.
Senator Jasinski, how many other states have this type of online program? Are there a lot of them, and do you have any background as far as their success and failure and the feedback?
Senator Jasinski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'll refer to Mr. Van Tassel or someone else, but I believe it's 11 states that are doing it now, and I believe they've gotten great feedback on the success, how successful they've been. But if anybody else has any information, Mr. Van Tassel or Ms. Zimmer is on the line as well. She may be able to answer that. I believe it's 11.
Senator,
Mr. Van Tassel, is it 11?
I believe you're right, Senator, yes. And we have not seen any outcome studies regarding safety impacts yet. That is the most common question we get about this. We have seen positive impact from driver education, traditional driver education, on both crashes and citations in the last few studies. We do know that no state that has started to allow online driver education has moved away from that. They seem to be pursuing that on a consistent basis.
Mr. Palmer, you had your hand up very briefly. If you want to respond
Mine's a
to the
question.
question.
Mine is, Mr. Chairman, members, mine's the question. Are there any of these 10 that are totally delivering all of the classroom online?
Mr. Palmer, I don't know how to answer that question. I don't know, Senator Jasinski, if you can answer, fine. Otherwise, we're going to move to Senator McEwen.
I do not have that answer.
Senator McEwen.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I have a question about, well, I have two questions. One, I have a question about the cost of taking this course. Are there already ideas or a plan for what the cost is going to be? And then also, my second question or comment is that being a parent currently with a 15-year-old going through this process right now, I frankly was confused when I heard about this legislation, because I thought, well, wait a minute, my son just did this online this year. And actually, when I look into it, this bill is talking about something different. So my son, because of COVID, participated online. It was a live course where the instructor was teaching him and other students the sort of book learning of learning how to drive before he took his permit test. And so he participated in that online, and it went really well, and it was really convenient. And I could see that that would be a good idea to expand to that going forward past this pandemic time. But as I understand it, what this is a no human contact type of learning where you could just go online and do this program, and you wouldn't develop a relationship with a human while you're doing that. And you still have to do your behind the wheel, as we've heard, but you wouldn't have a driving instructor who you had worked with, or a young adult wouldn't have a driving instructor that they had worked with, and then be moving on to do their behind the wheel with that person. Is that correct? I think it can be really confusing for people when they hear online.
I understand was sent out at, I think it was noon today. Ms. Boyd, do you have any information you can give us on the fiscal note?
Mr. Chair and members, I believe Senator McEwen's question was about the cost of the individual courses. And that wouldn't be covered in the fiscal note. I can certainly speak to the fiscal note, but I don't think that would answer her question at this point.
Ms. Boyd, would you be able to, look into it and get that information back to Senator McEwen?
Have it. Mr. Chair.
Ms. Boyd?
Mr. Chair and members, I can certainly do that. Obviously, if anyone in the meeting can speak to that now, that's great. Otherwise, I'll be happy to do that.
Okay, Senator Jasinski?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I got some information on that. I think the numbers I got, the average cost of the schools in classroom now is about $300, approximately $300. And I think this program would fall right in line with that. Again, this is an option. This isn't a requirement. Again, the interactivity, I understand where Senator McEwen is coming from that. What this does, and I'll read a couple things. It says the current online driver's training over 18 requires the program to include a way to measure performance outcomes, uses rotating questions. It ensures the identity of the student, measures the amount of time the student is spending on the course, provides customer support, store content. It protects private information. It allows for course content to be updated. And so they can do interactive. They can show a video. They can go back and ask questions. And this is really the same way even my private pilot's license is now. They'll do videos, they'll come back, answer questions, they'll go through answers and things like that. As far as the interactivity or an online, I would refer that to Mr. Van Tassel. I'm assuming that certain portions they could do that, but not a person back and forth. And again, the driver's training instructor is the one that's actually behind the wheel. This is just the classroom portion. So you'd still have a driver's teacher, but it would be the behind the wheel portion of that. As far as that's the fees. And again, they're open to do their own fees, but I believe what's being proposed includes the online and the testing and the behind the wheel, and at a proposed cost of approximately $389. So it's very much in line. Again, it's just another option, convenience, not having to go back and forth to a classroom, scheduling in between kids' sports and all those things. This is just a convenience factor, but it's in line with what the online courses, I believe, are around in the ballpark of the costs.
Senator McEwen, does that answer your questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I believe it does. I guess my only comment would be, but with this online program, you would do the coursework all online without an individual teacher, and then you would meet your behind the wheel teacher to do the behind the wheel portion. But right now, a lot of the time, as I understand it, with the courses we currently have, I know my son is working with the same, he'll do the behind the wheel with the same teacher that he's been learning with online over these past months. So thank you.
Yeah,
thank you.
I would encourage you, Senator McEwen, if you have any further questions and any other members of the committee have any further questions, please contact Senator Jasinski directly. If there's any member or any other testifiers that have further information that they want to get to the committee, please feel free to forward it to us. But at this time, we are going to move forward so that we can get to the presentation by the Met Council. So Senator Jasinski, I believe the appropriate motion at this point would be to lay Senate File 255 on the table.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I would make a motion to lay Senate File 255 on the table.
And members, it is my understanding that is not a debatable motion. All of the members in favor of Senator Jasinski's motion, please signify by saying aye and give me a thumbs up if you would.
Aye.
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 Those opposed, no, and a thumbs down. Thank you, members. Senator Jasinski's motion does pass, and this matter is laid on the table. Thank you, members.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Next up, we have the Met Council to give us an overview. And again, I think this is particularly important for members who may be new to the committee and haven't been through a sterling, informative, what else can I say, Mr. Chairman, by Met Council. But this is important that we have a basic understanding of the makeup of the Met Council. Mr. Chairman, welcome to the committee. Please state your name for the record, whom you are with, and please proceed with your testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is Charlie Zelli. I'm chair of the Metropolitan Council. It's great to see all of you, and I am looking forward to giving you an overview of the Metropolitan Council, particularly with respect to transportation. And I will attempt to share my screen, which should work here. Does that, is that something you see?
Yes, we can see that just fine. At least I can.
Well, it's always good to check. Thank you. I will work in interest of time. There's a lot of material, and with respect to new members and those of you who are very familiar with Met Council, it is true. I learn every day. There's about all the details about Met Council. So I'll be working through a lot of material, and then hopefully leave some time for some questions. First off, the Metropolitan Council actually does a lot more than transportation. It's primarily a a policymaking planning organization that's over 50 years old. I think the legislature established it in 1967. It's among a number of things, a planning agency mostly, really reviewing the comprehensive plans of all the municipalities within the 7-county district. But it also operates the largest housing redevelopment authority in Minnesota, administering programs like Section 8 housing vouchers. We partner with park agencies within the metropolitan region, some 55 regional parks that make up a regional park system. Our environmental services division is nationally renowned for handling all the wastewater in the metro area, but also does quite a bit of planning and research on the sources of clean water. And then, of course, a big subject for me today is we own and operate Met Transit. We're operated and organized in 3 distinct divisions, each with a planning and a operating kind of function. We'll be focusing on the transportation division, which has really, again, 2 functions: planning, where we serve as the Metropolitan Planning Organization. We do a lot of long-range planning for all modes, and then in the shorter term, we actually program the federal funds, discretionary federal funds that come to our region. In the transit operations, we're both an operator of Met Transit, but we also, there's a number of other areas that we operate, and we provide financial assistance and some oversight for the other transit providers in the region. So just to give you a sense of the overall budget, we're approximately a $600 million transportation operation. You can see that Metro Transit bus is the largest portion, but we have rail, commuter rail, Metro Mobility, and then, as I mentioned, some other contracted services. It's a very human organization. We have over 3,000 employees, and that, of course, makes up the lion's share of costs, our salaries. The sources of funds, really, the state is the largest provider of operating funds, but it's really through mostly the motor vehicle sales tax, where we have a dedicated portion, as well as the base funding from the general fund. As you can see, other sources, federal allocations for both operating and some capital investment, and then, of course, fares. I'm going to go deeper into Met Transit because that's really the biggest part of our operation. And as I mentioned, it's quite a few people. We have over 3,000 people, and as you can see, if you look at the operating budget last year versus what we anticipate this year, it is a declining sum. We're going to an operation of some 20 million less. That is certainly because of the reduced operations because of COVID, which I'll get into. The largest work group is bus operators. They have a variety of backgrounds. We actually are very pleased that we have been voted an employer of choice on numerous occasions, and we have an average employment of over 10 years. We have a number of people when they retire, they have over 30 years of experience. So we have very little turnover. And as a career in the bus business, I think that's a very impressive indicator of a good operating culture. We have a robust planning capital plan, and I'll get into kind of what we're doing in terms of expansion. You certainly have heard about Southwest Light Rail, but there's many others that are coming to kind of develop a whole network. And, you know, that's $3.5 billion over the next few years. I would say almost a billion, maybe 1.1 billion of that is non-light rail. So this isn't all just the light rail operations. A lot of it is our bus transit ways. So to get a little bit about the service area, it is a pretty broad footprint, and I think this this map really shows well this 907 square miles, 90 cities. You can see that quite a bit of service is in the outreaching into the suburbs, but of course we have cut back substantially during this period of time. We've had as many as 139 bus routes pre-COVID, and we're probably down to maybe 83 bus routes. And I'll get into this more in the future, but most of that which has been cut back are the suburban commuter express routes. I'll tell you a little bit about our ridership. You know, we did a lot of studies before the pandemic. We've actually done less onboard studies just for safety's sake in the past 9 months. But we got a pretty good idea about who rides our buses, who rides our trains. Fairly young, you know, 51% under 34 years old. They're generally lower incomes. 45% BIPOC is our customer base, as compared to the population, which is 27%. So you can also, which is interesting, is 70% of our trips are during non-peak commuter purposes. It really shows that the transit isn't just a commuter role, which is what we always think of. It is very much about people living their lives to and from school, to and from grocery stores, obviously work, but also really living their lives. It's interesting about areas, and I'll get into areas of concentrated poverty. We've actually had the least decline in ridership from those areas. So it continues to function as a very important essential service for those who need access to get around the metro. So here's a little bit about ridership over the past, coming up to a year now, next month. You can see there's just to orient you, that June dip was the George Floyd weekend of protests where we actually closed Metro Transit for the first time in decades for a couple of days. But you can also see the ridership declines. Those express buses, and I would put North Star commuter rail in that category, is down significantly, as much as 95%. And then rail down, but local bus is the least affected. And this chart actually shows it even better. You can see the North Star and commuter express service down substantially. These are really the point-to-point service to downtowns generally. And frankly, these are people who can, do their work, their school online. But you also see that, if you look at the top of the charts, this bus rapid transit, this is the arterial bus rapid transit, much like you'll see along Snelling Avenue and the areas where we have kind of a higher end express-like frequency on our local roads. That has been the least affected. And I think what's important to note is that even during this period of time, we're carrying between 80 and 90,000 rides per weekday. So it is down substantially, but it is actually fairly robust. And we've been carrying quite a few people, particularly along our densest routes. This gives you a sense about where that big ridership's coming from. We kind of overlaid, again, these neighborhoods of concentrated poverty, only to show that those are the populations that are really needing this service. And you'll see where they're going. Downtowns are the big, bright red marks, but along these corridors, there's a lot of boardings, and in some areas, frankly, just as much or more than we had pre-pandemic. I think this is a pretty interesting chart. Whoop, let me go back to that. This is actually the service changes. So this is where the actual deployment of buses and trains have been compared to what they were, say exactly a year ago. You can see that the commuter express and the commuter rail are way down in terms of our Metro Transit service. And frankly, because of lack of ridership, lack of demand, we've cut back routes, we've cut back frequency. But in some areas, we've actually increased frequency on very heavily traveled routes. The BRT in this case is very high, in part because we are now operating the Red Line, which is a BRT from Apple Valley to the Mall of America. But if that Red Line wasn't in that bar chart, we would have that would be about 100%. In other words, we're operating about as many miles with BRT as we were pre-pandemic. As I mentioned, we often are providing more service on the heavily traveled lines, and the reason for that is to kind of maintain social distancing, to ensure that we're not having overcrowded buses. We're actually providing increased service, and then of course decreased service in areas with lighter demand. We are not really advertising for more riders, and this just strikes at the heart of a bus guy to know that we're not marketing our service, but we really are saying during this period of time, and maybe for a couple of few more months, we're really providing that essential service for people who really need to get around, and we will be certainly marketing more in the months ahead. But it really shows how our bus service is the lifeblood for much of our population. Of course, we've taken extraordinary measures during the COVID, due to the COVID risks. Enhanced cleaning, absolutely. I mentioned larger buses. We're putting in some of our articulated buses in routes that didn't have it in the past to kind of maintain that distancing. We have 15 people can be on a 60-foot bus, but only 10 on a normal 40-foot bus. We had rear door boarding for a period of time. That was really to protect our operators from having face-to-face contact. That was when masks weren't widely used. Now we've been requiring them for some time. We've been actually giving out masks. We've been giving out shields. And of course, as you know, it is now a federal requirement for all public transportation. We were able to build plastic enclosure areas. So there's barriers now between the driver and those that are coming in. So we don't need to have the rear door boarding anymore. And that actually helps with, obviously, with collecting fares. Just talk a little bit about the network. This is the transitway network. This is the most heavily used corridors, the ones we're really building out. The green line, the blue line. But I really think a special attention to that A line, which is the gray, going from Minneapolis across the Mississippi on the Ford Bridge up to Snelling, and then north to Rosedale. And then the C line, which goes from Brooklyn Center Transit Center all the way to downtown. These are the ones that go every 10 minutes. They have some gizmos that turn the lights green and give a little preemption for the bus so they stay on schedule. You buy your ticket, much like light rail, off the bus itself. And that has been, as you saw from the graphs, very popular. In fact, before the pandemic, they were really showing annual substantial increases. And that, I think, is the future of our network, building on some of these other transit ways. And when you look at the future network, really is that green line and blue line, but with their extensions. So and we'll get into the green line extension, the blue line, which has a renewed life and to where it's going to be traveling. And then, of course, the orange line, which should open as soon as later this year, and the gold line, which is under active development. And then more of those arterial bus rapid transits, the D line, the B line, which we were very gratified to receive bonding support this last year to complete construction. And then the future Riverview and Rush lines are under development. So if you look at this map, just this map is a third of our ridership. So when you think about this expansion, we have more of a true network that is across the metro, and will really give a much more substantial mobility for our population. So I'll just kind of get a little bit into these different projects. We can drive pretty deep into these, but just as an overview, people have heard about the Southwest Light Rail, the Green Line extension, 14.5 miles. We really think of this as being a tremendous jobs line. Not only connecting Minneapolis, St. Louis, Park, Hopkins, Minnetonka, Eden Prairie, but just the tremendous amount of businesses along that area where this continuous train from St. Paul will really connect people with one trip within a half an hour to substantial employment. We calculate as many as 81,000 jobs along a half mile from the stations. It's about 35% complete, very complicated project. It is the biggest public work project ever constructed in the state of Minnesota. The Metro Orange Line also in construction, and it is really tied to the MnDOT project, the I-35 and 94 project. And if you are driving on 35W, you'll see the transit station over Lake Street really coming into view. That is going to be a tremendous corridor running on MnPass lanes from downtown Minneapolis to Burnsville. It will also connect with some of these other ABRTs when they are fully developed. And I would expect a ribbon cutting yet this year, along with the MnDOT project. I have to say, I've seen this project from all sides, including the partnership, not just with Met Council and MnDOT, but also City of Minneapolis and of course, Hennepin County. The Metro Gold Line, a great partnership with Ramsey County and Washington County, really provides a BRT in a new way for this region, because they'll have dedicated guideways. That's like having their own road right next to 94, a very important population center from Woodbury all the way into the Union Station in St. Paul, but it would connect not only with the Green Line, but with the D line, which I'll speak to the B line, which I'll speak to in a minute, which is the ABRT. Key destinations along the I-94 corridor, again, very much of an economic development, and 95,000 jobs within a fourth of a mile. So that's an extraordinary access, again, for people to, and I would say to support employers, but it's employers being supported by access to potential employees. The D line, this is that arterial bus rapid transit that is under construction, or really getting close to being in construction. We'd expect that to open in really as soon as next year. You can do a lot for $75 million. That's running down through North Minneapolis, North Broadway, down Chicago. It also has tremendous job access, and I would say a tremendous ability to, like the A line and the D line, to build on an existing heavily traveled corridor. This is the what we call Route 5, and it's already, Route 5 is probably the busiest corridor we have. So having this every 10 minutes enhanced service will really help lift up the entire system. Likewise with the B line. So these are the two lines that were supported in last year's bonding bill. Route 21 is the second busiest corridor, really along Lake Street and then Marshall and Selby to Union Station. And you can see all the different transit ways that are either existing or being constructed that'll connect with. So I always say that these transit lines are not just point to point, but they're networks. So if you do make a switch to another transit way, you'll know that there's another train or a bus coming within 10 minutes, and it makes it very seamless to get around. This is a $65 million budget, and we expect it to be in service in 2024. This is now under development. The next line, the E line, another ABRT from University all the way to Hennepin and to Southdale. Again, another heavily traveled corridor, and it's well in its kind of planning and entering engineering phase. We expect it to be about a $60 million project, but unlike the D and the B line, we have not secured the remaining funding. So spoiler alert, we nearly need $40 million more to advance this really important line. And again, you can see how these are developing together as different parts of an overall system. And then as we look forward, we've identified a number of other ABRTs. So this is really the growth of the system. Very efficient on existing roads. And we know that this helps not only commuting, but it really helps this kind of all day kind of mobility that has provided some success. This picture, which may be a little confusing, is this doesn't represent a lot of buses. Each of those buses represent a potential new line, a new BRT line. And this gives you a flavor of how we this past year have been narrowing it down to where we will identify 3 future lines to be developed. So this is a little bit how we're working with stakeholders, with raw data, having an equity lens. Again, how we connect people to livability. And you'll see soon this winter, we will be identifying the next lines, the F line, the G line, and the H line. So again, this is a kind of a long-term planning process, and we've got a lot of great criteria and a lot of enthusiasm for these next 3 developments. So I want to spend a little time just describing our Metropolitan Transit services. Again, a lot of the planning, the managers, their Metropolitan Planning Organization handles transit operations through providing a financial assistance to other transit providers besides Metro Transit. It also deploys the federal funds that come to this region. And it's important to note that the MPO is really there to help kind of ensure that our planning for all municipalities in the metro area are really following federal laws, state laws, but in particular, federal laws and rules. And I think that this has been one of the great attributes that we have as a metro region, that Met Council as an independent government is able to kind of ensure that we're truly coordinated, not just for transportation, but in this case, transportation, which has been a great benefit. We manage the state transportation planning process. So this is, again, very long-term, and it's deployed in the near term. This follows a 10-year planning process following the census. So we are just now starting the 2050 plan and the transportation policy plan, which is updated regularly, kind of represents two of the required regional systems plans for surface transportation, then of course also for aviation. All local governments, cities, in the region put together a comprehensive plan, and this allows a tool and ability to understand how to plan for transportation in every community. So then this is our actual footprint for the MPO. And you can see how it fits within the defined urbanized area within the 7-county area. You can see there's just a little piece of it in Wisconsin, but it has grown, and it's grown into, frankly, into Wright and Sherburne counties a little bit. So it's not just these 7 counties as the area has grown. Also want to touch base quickly on some of the other transit services that Met Council operates. We've talked a lot about the fixed route, which is the backbone of the operation, but Metro Mobility is very important. Shared ride public transportation service for certified riders who are unable to take the fixed route system, either through a disability or some kind of health condition. And this is required by the federal law under the American Disabilities Act, but it also is an expanded footprint through state requirements. And I'll show you on a map how that works. We also operate Transit Link, which is an area where regular route service isn't available, and we actually have many van pools, which is a group of people who can volunteer to drive themselves. We'll provide the van and a way to actually commute without a bus route. So this is this Metropolitan Mobility Service Area. You can see the light blue is that part of the metro which is mandated by federal requirements. And then the non-ADA, which means the state defined service area, is the dark blue. So if we take it in its entirety, it's actually a pretty large section of the dense urban areas of our metro area, and it is and it has been expanding every decade. Just to touch on our regional services, it often comes up is where do the various other regional services operate. This gives you a little bit of map. The dark outline is the transit capital levy community, we call it. That's where those that pay a small portion of property tax to support transit capital investment is most of that metro area. And then the areas where the suburban transit providers are in are little color coded. This shows a little better view of where suburban transit providers are in the dark blue, and then the rest of the area is the Metro Transit suburban operations. Metro Transit actually has a far more robust suburban express operation than the sometimes referred to as opt-outs, the suburban independent transit providers. Then this is the actual same map. Kind of shows, again, when I mentioned we have such robust ridership from those that are essential workers who rely on Met Transit, are in these areas where their poverty rates are higher than 30 or 40%. So it kind of gives you a flavor as to where our service areas are. So this is just a sense of the ridership of how that relates. Again, probably 94% of that is Met Council operations. There are the MVTA, Maple Grove, Plymouth, and Southwest Transit also have ridership as well, but it's a lesser amount in the overall pie. This is the actual ridership figures, and you'll see that again, between light rail and Metro Mobility and Metro Transit Rail is the lion's share. So I apologize that I have just jumped through that really quickly, but I want to get a chance. I know you might have questions, and I gave you a lot, but we're always available to answer more questions aside from this hearing. It's been great seeing all of you, and I left a little bit of time, Mr. Chair, for comments or questions.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and members. I will tell you that if we don't get to all of your questions that you may have, Mr. Zelli has always been very forthcoming with helping us get information. So I'm sure that he would welcome any inquiries directly to him, and I'm sure that he would get back to you as soon as he possibly can. We will move to questions at this point, and the first senator up is Senator Kiffmeyer. Senator Kiffmeyer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate the opportunity to do that. And Commissioner Zelli, or Mr. Zelli, there you are. Good to see you again. And the opportunity to hear the very broad-based presentation. I think more than anything, I just wanted to comment on the value of the bus rapid transit, and especially the long-term paneling. It's a cost-effective way. How did you come, because I see the cost effectiveness of the bus and their flexibility and other things. What other, I see the concepts coming forward and I see the long range planning, but are ideas that you have that I'm thinking of the whole variety of new modes of transportation rather than a bus, more single person type transportation. Is that on your radar? There are other questions, so I don't want to take up all your time on that, but I was just wondering about future.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and Senator Kiffmeyer, it's great to see you too. And you've certainly heard me talk about transportation over many years, and I've always thought about it as an interconnected system: roads, bridges, and different kinds of vehicles. And I think the transit system is again very much of a puzzle. And I think these new kind of ABRTs are cost effective, but they're in really high in corridors where there is existing, traffic. And I think there always will be. And we're seeing that now. And to me, it's always about how things connect. So when you think about the transportation network providers, Ubers and Lyfts, or whether it's a bicycle or whether it's people's own cars, we operate park and rides where people drive, leave the car, get on an express bus. It's always kind of more than just one mode, and each one serves a separate purpose. So I think light rail, although very expensive over time because they're kind of a generational investment, have similar, frankly, believe it or not, costs on a per person when you look at the life cycle over 50 years. And they provide kind of the backbone for some of these connecting services, whether it be bus or cars or bikes or other uses. So I think it's more about how in the future new technology will actually enhance that connectivity rather than put people in their own silos. Single occupancy cars, I think, will be increasingly very expensive and probably not affordable for half the population.
Members, we've got 3 more senators that wish to answer or ask a question. We've only got about 5 minutes. Senator Kiffmeyer, is it okay if we move on? Thank you very much. The next senator up then would be Senator Osmic, followed by Senator Johnson Stewart, and then Senator Dibble gets to get the last question in. Please keep in mind we've got about 5 minutes. Senator Osmic.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Zelli, my position on light rail and frankly North Star. We know that those ridership numbers are going to have been significantly impacted. I've gotten feedback from people for the North Star line that we're down to 1 or 2 people on a train. Is there any thought to suspension of that service until such time as it becomes feasible to run it? Is it a significant cost for us to go into to mothball it at least for a period of time until ridership would come back because of reopening of businesses downtown?
Chairman Zeller.
Mr. Chair, Senator Osnick, I'll be really quick. We did look carefully at temporary suspension of service, and there is a cost that comes toward both shutting it down and then putting it back in place. And there's a considerable amount of sunk cost in some of our current, capital and operating arrangements with BNSF. So it became kind of close. So there's and because we have already brought it from 72 trips down to 20 trips a week, we're kind of keeping it on a bare minimum. We're always kind of open to looking at it, but now that we see ridership slightly going up, and then the prospects of vaccines and the economy slowly marching forward, and some help from some COVID funding, we really determined it wasn't cost effective to do a total suspension.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator Johnson Stewart.
Thank you, Chair. And Chair Zelli, thanks for your presentation. I just want to offer up my affirmation of the move towards A-line BRT. I don't know if you know, I've taught at the U in the civil engineering program for over 20 years. So I've been following that research and also following some of the offshoots on single vehicles. And we know now with very secure knowledge that the only way to really get added capacity on our current arterials is with buses or with airplanes, and we're not flying many of those from Wayzata to downtown. But I just want to affirm that, and I want to affirm I want to remind the committee members that every one of our arterials is near build out. We have a 6-lane arterial system on nearly every one of our highways right now. 494, 694, 394, 94, 100, 169, et cetera, et cetera. And as an engineer, I can tell you, unless we get an inflow of money or we start tearing down houses, businesses, Target stores, and schools, we just cannot increase capacity in any way other than to add more buses. And BRT is a proven technology. I can't agree with Chair Zelli more than to say the technology is what's going to speed up that BRT. And so I just want to thank you for your presentation. We are looking with great interest at lines F, G, and H in the western suburbs, and I look forward to working with you on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Johnson Stewart. Senator Dibble.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for those comments, Senator Johnson Stewart. I always like to invite people to Orange County, California, where they have 5 and 6 general purpose freeway lanes on either side of the freeway in a lot of places, and their parking lots through much of the day. So you can build lots and lots of super wide freeways and still not get yourself out of your essential problem. I actually my question was more for you, Mr. Chair. This was a great presentation. I have a million things I could ask Chair Zelli. And
you always do on this topic, Senator Dibble. Go ahead.
But we're at the end here. But I was just wondering, when do you think we're going to see prospectively the presentation on their prospective plans and the governor's budget and the like?
You're asking specifically about the budget for, say, MnDOT, Met Council, et cetera?
Yeah, I'm especially interested, of course, in Met Council because we heard about the ridership, but we also know that quite a bit of money came in from the feds, which kind of papers over the shortfall in revenues, which is great, but it's kind of a one-time thing. And we still have kind of the structural deficit that we're struggling with. So I want to hear all about that at some point in the not too distant future. And that probably will be illuminated in the context of the budget.
Sure. And I think this will answer your question, Senator Dibble. We are going to have Met Council is going to come in, as will MnDOT, DPS, and they will be presenting their budget to us. I am holding hearings for them until we get the policy language along with the budget proposal. And once we get that, then the answer is yes, we are going to have those hearings. And those are the hearings, Senator, that I alluded to. We may have to go into the evening or onto a Friday in order to get them in because our schedule is getting kind of packed. But we definitely are going to look at the budget proposal. We're also going to look at the various federal funds that have come in. We're going to be looking for an explanation on how that money has been spent. Chairman Zelli and I have already had a conversation on this issue, and I am sure that he will be fully prepared to move forward. I hope that answers your question, Senator Dibble.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Members, that concludes our agenda for today. Chairman Zelli, again, thank you very much for coming in and speaking to us. And we will be seeing you soon with respect to your budget proposal. With that, members, we are adjourned.
Thank you.